Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But I did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Boy, them Knicks sure looked tired last night. Oh my gosh. Man, if there was ever an evil head coach, whew, they looked fatigued. They looked like they had no energy. They looked like they wanted to be nowhere but their beds. I mean, the Knicks were sluggish last night, just sleepwalking. They were ran out of the gym in this beautiful 143. Got ahead of myself to 106 victory. What a win. This was probably my favorite win of the season. Possibly the best win of the season. I'm not going to sit here and rank, but it was awesome. I mean, this was tough. This was a game I had circled. It was a game I had circled because Memphis, listen, the Grizzlies are no slouch, and the Knicks made them look like so. Memphis is tough. They had won 6 in a row entering last night. They came into last night's game with the second best record tied for in the Western Conference. Top 5 in net, top 5 in offense, just outside the top 5 in defense. They're this long, versatile defense who can shut teams down in the half court. Yet the Knicks went out there and they dropped an easy 140 ball. This was an amazing time. I loved it. Last couple of wins now, we're actually having some fun. And you got some real strong contributions all across the box score. You know, this was the type of game where this is what Knicks Twitter expects every night. Like everyone being in peak form. But it was awesome. Everybody contributed. OG Anunoby with 6 steals. Mikal Bridges shoots 63%. Towns and Hart, 2 more double-doubles because, of course, Towns with a big-time third quarter. It's also nice to see the shot make a return. That was a concern of mine. It's been a concern of mine with the injury. Brunson, 4 for 6 from 3. He's all of a sudden on fire. The second unit gave you good production. 45 points between Deuce, Cam, Shamet, and Precious. And there were just countless, especially towards the end, but really throughout the game, so many highlight clips. You know, Mikal Bridges, the full court outlet to OG Anunoby. There were a couple outlets to Mikal. You had the Towns and one in the third quarter. You had the one playing the fourth, I think it was. Hart grabs the rebound, and it eventually goes to Mikal, I think, for a three-pointer. It was during that 13-0 run. You had that moment where Memphis looked like they were crawling back a little bit. Cam Payne goes on a mini run by himself. Knocks down 4 big baskets early in the fourth quarter. He had a couple of precious posters. He had a nice block that led to a dunk. The OG to Mikal alley-oop. And then, of course, how could I not mention, towards the end of the game there, Deuce McBride with I thought Jericho Sims had it earlier in the year. There were a couple other candidates, but this might be the dunk of the year for the Knicks. It had Breen lose his shit. It had the Knicks bench lose their shit. Precious got up. OG Anunoby was falling all over the floor. He was underneath the basket, and this is while he was on the bench after the dunk. Gets trampled over. It was just a fun win. A fun 143-106 win over a tough Memphis squad at Madison Square Garden last night. So that makes it 4 wins in a row for your Knicks, who are now 31-16 overall. That's a .660 win percentage. So for all the people who are saying and acting like the world is ending after a single loss and saying this has not been a good year, the team's consistently winning. They're winning 2/3 of their games. They're now just one back. They're just one game back of that 2 seed, with Boston imploding there in crunch time last night. Beautiful. But, it's just nice to finally do some damage against the top contender. So they have a couple now. The Denver, who is the 4 seed in the West now, they're up next. The Knicks pounded them, but they always pound them into the dirt. But it was nice to be a top seed. It was very nice to be the top seed. And so after that rough OKC loss, which really took a lot out of me, the Knicks have rebounded nicely. They're 6-2 since, and they really pick up their best win of the year last night over the Grizzlies. And I think you got to first give a little bit of love to this head coach, because the big, bald, evil idiot Tom Thibodeau, who apparently is not as good as Twitter is at coaching a basketball team, despite having multiple Coach of the Year titles and despite being a successful NBA coach. I thought he coached a good game last night. As he's been lately, he's handling these rotations pretty well. He ran a full 9 yesterday again. Both Shamet and Campaign got their fair share. Everyone was in double-figure minutes, but not a single soul was over 33 minutes, unless you round it off. So I liked the rotations last night. But what I really liked was, this raised my eyebrows, showing trust in the second unit during that Grizzly run, late third quarter, early fourth quarter. He stuck with that unit. He didn't go back to the first unit in the fourth quarter there. Trusted his bench, and they got him through. Campaign and the Knicks bench got him through. That's a good sign. I'm hoping that's Thibs kind of, instilling trust now. I'm hoping that's the second unit instilling trust in Tom Thibodeau. Because I want this rotation to go to 9 as much as the next man. If it was ever 10 men, that's never going to happen in the history of Tom Thibodeau. But I'd be for that. The 8-man rotations are tough. But at the same time, it's important to remember the reserves have limitations. The Knicks' second unit in particular is just not talented enough to warrant consistent 9-man rotations and still win games. I truly believe that. Like Precious, Shamet, Payne, they'll have nice games as they all did last night, but they've all bounced around multiple NBA teams and haven't been able to find a consistent home yet for a reason. You know, some of these guys like Shamet is on a minimum contract for a reason. This game was probably an anomaly. Let's be honest. Like, I'm not saying the Knicks won't have games like this anymore and that they're not this good of a team. They're a great team. But the average Knick game won't feature this. They tore Memphis apart. They played around with them. They had a dunk contest in the fourth quarter. They ran them out the gym. It's rare to see NBA games where every single active player on a particular team played not well, but at an elite level. So, like, those using this game as an example of why the Knicks need to play a full 9 every single game, that's not really fair. Because the second unit is just not that talented. There will be games. And you also got to consider matchups, right? Thibs considers matchups. He prioritizes size. He's always going to want at least one wing on the floor, most of the time two. So given Brunson's role as point guard and given Deuce McBride as your sixth man, it's going to be challenging to find consistent minutes for Campaign and the other guards. And I agree. Again, expanding the rotation is very appealing. But to act like his lineup management has been a fireable offense after every loss, that's not a way to get people to take you serious. They have 16 losses on the season. They're almost 50 games in. Let's relax. I get the concerns. I don't think Thibs is the guy to get them to a championship either. I've said that multiple times, but I'm willing to let him ride this out. Like, I agree on many things that a lot of Knicks fans do. You know, like the Mikal Bridges sample of when he sits early in the first quarter as opposed to waiting to sub him out until the second quarter. I get that. It works. He plays better statistically when he gets an early rest. The Knicks are 10-2 in games where they sub him out in the first. If that was a consistent rotation pattern, will it continue to be as accurate or as successful as 80% win rate or whatever that is? I don't know. But I wish we would see it more. So there are things I agree with, man. Like, you know, the lineup he went with in the fourth quarter, creative, and I want to see that more. You know, he's not going to get credit for this, but early in the fourth quarter, it was Josh Hart out there with the second unit for a couple of seconds, but Thibs was quick to pull Hart for OG Anunoby. I think he wanted more wingspan and spacing on the floor. And then I think with 8 minutes and a half or something, he checks in Mikal for Shamet. And so it was Deuce, Cam, Mikal, OG, Precious. That lineup pretty much put the nail in the coffin. And that's a lineup I would like to see the Knicks go to more when Brunson sits. We haven't seen it much this season. When we have, it's been in situations like this. It's been in garbage time. On the year, they've played 5 games, 9 total minutes, plus 38 net for those who care. But it's a lineup I'd like to see more. So, thought the rotation was good. I thought Thibs coached a good game, and I thought Mikal Bridges was the best Knick on the floor last night. 28 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, couple of blocks, Shoots 12 for 19. He was a plus 43 in the box across 34 minutes. 7 game balls on the year. I thought Mikal was great. Very active out there. Again, running the open floor a couple of times there at the end of the first half. Scoring some baskets in transition. Thought the Knicks did a nice job getting Mikal on-ball touches. Early on in the game, they ran a really nice 3-man action. I don't know what you call it, but it was an action where Mikal was setting an off screen for Brunson, and he slips it into a cut. Cat has the ball up top, finds a cutting Mikal for an easy basket. There was another possession, middle of the second quarter. The Knicks got Mikal a touch off DHO, and that flowed into pick and roll. It wasn't exactly a Miami action because the Knicks brought a second screener to the action. But it was basically that. It was DHO into a pick and roll. And they did a nice job of the play because the Knicks were able to force Edey to play 2 from drop coverage with the point of attack defender, I forget who it was, behind. And Edey from drop was non-committal to Mikal because he was kind of half tagging the roll and half stepping up to Mikal. And so Mikal was easily able to step into a jumper in the short mid-range area. You had Mikal running pick and roll with Precious a few times. There was that one possession late in the second quarter. The Knicks ran a horns out action. It was a horns out with double step-up screens for Mikal to come off on. Josh Hart sets the first. Towns screens up top on the second. Memphis plays it straight up, and then they drop their big on the second screen. Mikal pulls up on the drop after getting downhill. So, creative offense last night, getting Mikal touches and actions, and he's putting together a solid end of the month. I know he struggled a little bit earlier in January, but finishing off January on a better note. Not quite what he was in December, but he's starting to put together a little more consistently over the last week and a half. And he played some great defense last night. Thought he did a nice job on Ja Morant. This was probably the Knicks' best defensive showing yet. And I want to talk about that when we return from break. Stay with us here on BD4, episode 791. The Knicks notch a key win versus the Grizzlies. Be right back. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Thought the defense was good last night, man. Really good. Really good team defense. Thought it was a very commanding effort. They held Memphis to 106 points. Just a 101 offensive rating. Memphis turned it over 26 times. It wasn't just the quality, but it was the quantity. It was the quality of passes they were making. But to the Knicks defense, no pun intended, I thought they played good defense. Like they were aggressive in the pass lanes and the gaps. 20 steals. They were scoring in transition constantly. Defending on a string in the half court. In total cohesion, attentive, just in sync, very disciplined. They made all the right rotations. They made all the correct switches. You know, if it was a double drag or if one screen flowed into the next, the Knicks knew when to switch and when to not. Thought they made very aggressive closeouts and brought great help. And if they were too aggressive on their closeouts, they rotated hard off the closeout to pick up. Just helping the helper on the backside. Good strong side help. I thought they were really crisp all around defensively. And I will point out that, you know, this Memphis team, again, they're more of a transition offense. The high-tempo West Coast offense type team. They use the least amount of pick-and-roll ball screens in the NBA. So it's not like Towns was really tested. They didn't exploit the Knicks and drop coverage last night like an elite offense or like an elite half-court offense would. But even when the Grizz were in the half-court, and when they ran pick and roll, I thought the Knicks contained the ball very well. I mean, they shut Ja Morant down. I was worried about Ja Morant at the Garden. You know, I thought they were going to force the Knicks into some situations that the Knicks were forcing Edey into, where, you know, whoever was at the point of attack would get caught behind, and now Cat has to play too. Didn't see that as much because the Knicks were crisp, both at the point of attack and in drop. They shut Ja down. 10 points. 13 shots to get those 10 points. Didn't attempt a single free throw. He was a minus 41, the worst in his career. I know he's not having the greatest season, but to cut his points per game average in half last night was big. You know, at the beginning of the game, Ja misses a shot at the basket off of a double switch. Off of the guard screen, Mikal switches off him. Brunson switches onto him. Brunson holds his own on the wing until Edey comes to screen. And off of the Edey screen, Brunson switches off. Towns switches onto Morant. And he does a nice job taking away his right, forces him left. Couple of minutes later, Ja Morant misses a floater going downhill on Mikal and one-on-one. Josh Hart digs to him. He digs to force Ja to pick up his dribble and shoot a tough floater. Middle of the first quarter, Ja gets, I think he was blocked at the basket with the Knicks in help. Mikal gets beat off the first step. Towns is in drop, but OG Anunoby brings rim help to block Ja off of a drive. Early second quarter, Ja misses a basket and one-on-one on Campaign off of a switch. Mikal switches onto Jackson. He's out of the action, but Campaign switches onto Ja Morant. He stays with him for a good 7 or 8 seconds to force the miss. Early third quarter, he misses at the basket versus Towns. Off of the first screen, Mikal switches off him again, and Brunson switches to Ja. And then off the second screen, Brunson gets caught behind, but Towns is at the basket in drop, and he forces a miss. A little later in the third quarter, he gets blocked at the basket again. Mikal gets beat on a drive off DHO, but he's able to stay attached to Ja, and he makes a nice rear contest to block him at the basket. So I thought containing Ja Morant was key. Really, really good defense by Mikal Bridges, the Knick wings, the Knick bigs. That's why you got what you got. Precious Achiuwa played good defense, and I thought Precious Achiuwa was probably the best Knick on the floor, or I'm sorry, the best Knick among the second unit last night. 14 points, 4 steals, 2 blocks. Shot 6 for 9, knocked down a 3. Was a +9 in 20 minutes. 7 game balls of the year. Maybe one of his best games of the season. Definitely one of his best games of the season. Maybe his best. Thought he played great defense. I like Precious a lot at the 4. It just sucks that you can't switch him when he's at the 4 because you have to worry about Towns, but it's much better than when he's undersized at the 5 sometimes, and especially when he's out there with Josh Hart, and those minutes aren't great, but he looked good. He looked good. I thought Jalen Brunson was good. Brunson didn't do a ton last night, 20 points, but he played less than 30 minutes. We played 25 minutes. A modest 20 points, but the efficiency was there. The efficiency is back. He had that little stretch where he was sub 40% from the field in 4 out of 5 games, and then back-to-back games below 40% against Orlando and Toronto. But since then, in his last 9 games, he's 53%, 47% on his threes, and that's on 6 attempts per game. More recently, regarding the three-point ball, he's 53% on the 3 in his last 6. The pull-ups are back, and he's also getting a ton of off-ball looks. A lot of looks off of floppy as the season goes on, and he's starting to get more and more baskets off of those floppy actions where he's coming off the screens from underneath the basket and receiving the ball up top. Helps him get downhill. You know, he started as, I think, the very first possession of the game, at least for the Knicks. They run floppy out of a chin series for Brunson to get to his floater and draw 2 free throws. Misses both. Middle of the first quarter, the same exact play. It results eventually in a OG Anunoby corner. And then the top of the third quarter, you got floppy. I think early in the fourth quarter, you got Brunson and floppy. So I like the way they're getting him more off-ball looks. That's obviously a benefit of having guys like Towns who can handle the ball and having good guard screeners as well. So that's it with this game. Up next for the Knicks, we'll talk about that when we get back from break. Stay with us here on BD4. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Welcome back to the show, episode 791 of the podcast. The Knicks notch a key win versus the Grizz. So we got 3 more games left at home. 1 more game left in the month of January. So we've got Denver tomorrow night. That's the last game of the month. I believe it's a 7:30 game at the Garden. And then to wrap up the homestand, you got the Lakers on Saturday the 1st. And the Rockets next Monday on the 3rd. So, and then as we mentioned, I think last episode, maybe 2 ago, the Knicks have a tough next month. You know, they're playing some real tough competition. It's going to be a good test. So they passed the test last night, or one of the tests. But, I mean, they've got Boston, they've got Cleveland. I think they play Cleveland twice within the next month. It's going to be a good test. But Denver tomorrow, you know Denver's going to want payback. The Knicks have been blowing them out of the water the last couple of years. So we'll see what happens. And with that said, we're going to wrap it up with our trivia question of the day in just 1 sec. Stay with us here on BD4 episode 791 of the podcast. Be back in a minute. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune in to our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right. Trivia time. All right, our trivia question for this episode. Episode 691. So the Knicks scored 143 points against the Kings on Saturday and 143 more last night. Our question, when was the last time the Knicks scored at least 140 points in consecutive games? So before the last couple of games, when was the last time the Knicks scored at least 140 points in consecutive games? Give me the year. Don't need a specific date. Just give me the year, the season. And folks, that's it. I appreciate you all tuning in as always. Good win for the Knicks. Couldn't have asked for a better game than what we got last night. One of the better wins of the season. My second favorite win probably. First probably being that Bucks game. Just because I was there and the atmosphere at the Garden is always fun. Christmas game was fun. But it was one of the top three. Fun win. Folks, I'll see you soon. Trying to get some Yankees out. We'll see what happens. But as for Knicks fans, I'll see you in the next Knicks game. We'll talk Knicks Nuggets after tomorrow's, hopefully, win later. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.